Jesus.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are live. So everybody can still hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Great. So good evening. My name is Tomas Avila, and I am here on a conversation that I have started way back in June, which I have titled Latino Leadership 2020, Honoring Our Past, Transforming Our Present, and Leading Our Future. And this project is a celebration of the successful Latino leadership during the past 20 years, the years of 2000 and 2020. And the reason I focus on that particular period is because during that time, there was a book that was published, Latinos in Rhode Island, that very much documents the success that we have had in Rhode Island. And according to that book, the success that we accomplished starting in 2000 in Rhode Island had not been seen throughout the New England region. And also, that's the period where we actually started building up the political power. That's when we started electing Latino officials. Although we had one at that time, Anastasia Williams, and she was the first Latina to get elected. And but that was it. But in 2000, after many tries, we elected, actually in 98, we elected the second one, which was Councilman Luis Aponte. And then we stayed dry for a while. And then in 2000, we elected the third Latino in Rhode Island, who was Luis Leon Tejada. And from there to today, we have elected a total of 40 Latinos. 24 are serving as we speak. And as you know, people lose campaigns, people challenge each other. And that's the reason that we only have 24, because we keep competing with each other. But at least now we have 24. And in this election, from what I see, based on the amount of Latinos that are seeking office in new districts, I perceive that if we are able to hold all the seats that we have already and pick up a few more, we can actually increase that number to about 37 Latinos elected in Rhode Island. And I'm hoping that we actually accomplish that. But you know how it is, elections, you can't tell, but definitely it's a good track to keep. So that's the reason for these conversations. And I've been having these conversations with different leaders. I started with leaders who participated in the 2000 season forward. And now I'm down to the future. So as I mentioned, the title is Honoring Our Past, Transforming Our Present, and Leading Our Future. And these three friends that I have tonight, to me, represent the future. Represent the future as elected officials, but most importantly, even as leaders in the community, because they definitely are leaders on their own rights. So again, that's the conversation that we are going to be having tonight, is about the Latino Leadership 2020. So I want to start by introducing my guest tonight. First, I want to start with Councilman Franklin Solano. Hello, Franklin.
Hello, Tomas.
And then I want to continue with Glendaliz Colon. Hello, Glendaliz.
Hello, Tomas. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And last but not least, with Angel Subervi. Hello,
Thank
Angel.
you. Hello, Tomas. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having us.
And I want to also clarify that Franklin is already elected. He's running for re-election. Glendaliz and Angel are running for the first time. And definitely, I wish you all the best of luck. So we're going to get started.
Thank you so
So
much.
to get started, I would like each one of you to to make some introduction remarks and very much introduce yourself, who you are, and whatever you want to say in that introduction. So whoever want to go first.
Ladies first.
Thank you, Franklin. Hi, everyone. As Tomas said, my name is Glendaliz Colon. I am a longtime resident of Central Falls. I first moved to Central Falls when I was 9 years old. And I am now a happy 40. So I've been in the city for a very long time. I am a member of the school board of the Central Falls School District, and I do a lot of work in my community. I've been doing a lot of, lately, I've been doing a lot of food drives for the city. And that's for everyone, doesn't matter your status. We don't ask for anything. And we've been able to provide meals for thousands of family in the city of Central Falls and other neighboring cities with the Elijah Project. I have also volunteered for our lovely future mayor, Maria Rivera, worked behind the scenes on her campaign, which it has been an inspiration for me to run. So I want to continue. I chose to run because I want to continue the work I've been doing, engaging in my community and doing the real groundwork, which is actually working one-on-one with our residents. That is really important to me because I think it's more than sitting behind a big desk in a council meeting. It's more one-on-one dealing with issues with our residents. And I've had to literally jump out of bed at 3 a.m. when we had a huge fire and bring people to safety. And I will continue doing that whether I win or lose. I have a passion for our residents and I will continue my work regardless.
X. Franklin.
I'll take Franklin.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilman Solano, please.
Yes. Yes. Good afternoon, Tomas. Thank you very much for having us here in this conversation tonight. It is a great pleasure to be here and talk with you about the important thing about our Central Falls. My name is Franklin Solano. As I say, I've been living here in the city of Central Falls for over 3 decades, and I am married, father of 5 children, and I've been involved in politics for quite a long time. Actually, I started doing politics, helping others in 2006 when I worked directly with in the campaign of Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. And then after that, I kept helping others candidates to become elected official, such as Mayor Angel Taveras, Mayor Jorge Elorza, Mayor James Diosa, Lieutenant Governor John McKee, and others candidates that have been running in the state. I've been working with them until people always pushing me like, why don't you run for office? Why don't you run for office? Until I started running in 2016, and here I am as a city council running for re-elections. It is a pleasure to be servicing my community and my city because that's something that I always like and love to do, be helping my community.
Thank you. Thank you. Tomas, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to share our story and the why we're running for office with our community. Thank you, Councilman Solano, for joining us, and Glendaliz, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here with you folks. My name is Angel Subervi. I'm running for state representative in District 7 of Providence. I am a descendant of Dominicans. I am from Providence, but I'm multicultural. I'm multicultural because I was born in New York City, raised in the Dominican Republic, would be in Providence every summer, as my grandmother was one of the first Dominicans that came to the city back in the 50s. Nowadays, she's 94 years old. She still lives, thank God. And every summer I would be here. So officially living in the city, it's now 12 years, going into 13. Me and my wife bought our first home in Mount Pleasant 5 years ago. But most importantly, I became a public servant officially 5 years ago, where now I serve as Director of Small Business Development. Within that role, my job in the city has been to support small businesses, navigate bureaucracy, connect them to opportunities, but most importantly, allow them to have someone who they can rely on when it comes to bureaucracy. As we know all what that means. It's not easy for a small business community to navigate, to understand. It could be a challenge. Throughout my lifetime here in the city of Providence, I've been very involved with various groups in various capacities. And I've been honored to see the true Providence and who we are. Most importantly, that the Latinx community has been empowered and has taken charge and ownership of what they want to do, what we want to do, looking towards our future. I'm honored to be part of that. I'm honored to serve this community when I win on September 8th. And most importantly, work closely with our leadership, with our Latinx leadership to move forward our agenda as a community. So thank you, Tomas, very much for this opportunity to share our platform, who we are, and what are we going to do to move forward our community.
You're very welcome, Angel. I love how you ended. I love your statement that you're going to work with.
Yeah.
And I love that because we need that. We need Latinos to go beyond their little areas. I know it happens in Central Falls. Central Falls is an example, where everybody works together, but it needs to happen more in Providence and it needs to happen more throughout Rhode Island. So thank you for that statement because
I say
that's
one,
very key. Sure.
Yes. I say one thing. If you were to ask me if I had any concerns, I have one. I'm not going to go up there and fight alone. I can't do this alone. We need to do it together. It's the only way that's going to work.
Oh, bravo.
That is very important. And
yes, indeed. That is very important. So thank you for sharing it. So you started in the good foot already. Everybody, of course, I know everyone, and I know everyone has been involved for many years in your communities, even before you got elected. And most importantly, involved as volunteers, but working in campaigns, working behind the scene. So it's nice to see that each one of you have decided. Franklin did it back in 2016, but Glendaliz and Angel are doing it now because, one of the questions that is usually asked there, what's your experience? And when that question is asked, I say, my statement is that according to the Constitution of the United States and Rhode Island, there is no experience required. But one of the experiences that all of you bring, and most people when they decide to run, is the community service, is doing for for others, and that's an experience that all of you have. So pretty much each one of you cover why you are running, which was going to be one of my initial questions. But I'll move forward. So now that you decided to run, you decided to seek this particular office. What is your vision for the office that you decided to run for? And I'm an optimist. So I'm going to, in Glendaliz and Angel, you're going to be elected. So
Absolutely.
When you get elected, what is your vision? What is your plan, initial plan for that office?
I guess I'll go first. One of my initial plans, I have two. One of them is that I would love to see a center for our residents, so a resource center, a one-stop shop where they can come for anything from a diaper to help with resources. I think it would be major in our city. they know who, a lot of our residents already know who to contact. They usually will contact someone like Maria, they'll contact myself, they'll contact Councilman Solano. A lot of them are very familiar with their councilman right now. But I think a hub where they have a one number that they can reach out to. They can always reach out to all of them, but just one central location, I think would be beneficial for our city. And the other is, I feel like that our small businesses need to unite and form an association. Together we are stronger, and that is something that I would absolutely love to bring. So it may be that monthly meetings, also another place where they can bring their concerns, questions on how they can further progress their business. I would love for that to be available for our residents in the city. So those would be my two major plans right now. Thank you.
So on my end in District 7, several things. The job of a representative is very broad, but the reality is that I'm not going to go up there and save the world, but I want to deliver for this district, especially for our Latinx community, which is so highly populated in my district of. Number one, I'm a small business guy. It's my strongest focus. And small businesses, before the pandemic, we saw a challenge, a strong challenge that they're all facing. And the reality is that at the legislative level, folks are making beautiful policies on paper, but that at the time of accessing those initiatives and policies, programs, they really don't adapt to our reality. So we need more programs that adapt to our current reality in our small business world down here. I have my concern as director of small business of the city, where folks that have now during the crisis, the challenge of continue running their business because of the income and trying to access these opportunities, most of them were denied. And this is federal, state, and unfortunately, there's too much red tape in some of these initiatives. The other thing is, piggybacking from the red tape, all this bureaucracy in the state of Rhode Island to open a business. Glendaliz just hit it out of the park. You know, a one stop. We need to be more business friendly as a state. I was in San Francisco last year sitting at a diner, and a young lady helping us asked her where we were from. We said Rhode Island. She said, whoa, 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 the Republic of Rhode Island. I was like, what does that mean? Is that good or bad? She says, well, my mom tried to go there 5 years ago with her boyfriend and try to open a business. They could never do it. They had to come back to San Francisco. Those are really sad stories to hear. We want to change that. We want to change that perception, that idea that Rhode Island is not business friendly. Also, very important in my district specifically, we need to elevate and beautify our major corridors. Chalkstone Avenue, Academy Avenue, which are our main corridors here at Atwells. We need to elevate those. We need to create more confidence for investors to come in. We also need to create more confidence for folks across the state want to come in and do business with us. So those are just two of the areas in the small business, and obviously more grant opportunities. Now during the crisis, that it's not even close to end, and that we still haven't seen the worst part in regards to small businesses, there needs to be more grant opportunities. Real opportunities that people can access, because that's where the issue is. They're all great on paper, beautiful, but at the time of accessing those opportunities, unfortunately, only a very small gap of folks could. Great. Second, education. Education is it's a big mess, no doubt, but it's not time to be pointing fingers at anyone. We're all in this mess together. We're all responsible. It's about now, how do we move forward together? How do we have productive conversations? It's not about protesting. It's not about, saying it's anyone's fault. It's about how do we move together out of this situation that we're all in. And our kids, our future, infrastructure-wise, there's so much work to do in our schools. So I will be at the forefront of this conversation, not only for District 7, I will be at the forefront for my entire city, for the state, because our future relies on our schools. So we need to have good schools, good infrastructure, so our kids can be good professionals tomorrow. Number 3, in the healthcare industry, There's a lot of issues. During COVID, we've seen that obviously we weren't prepared for a pandemic like this or a situation like this. But there's a specific subgroup within the healthcare industry, our CNAs, who've been the true heroes. Nurses, doctors, all heroes, but CNAs, you really need to have the vocation to do that kind of work. I just don't understand how some of those folks are still making $12 an hour. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. We need to elevate that. We need to pay respect to those individuals, which are at the moment the most vulnerable ones. So those are only three of the areas that I want to focus on. There's a broader list of things that we could be doing a lot better. Affordable housing, this crisis we're living in, there's a lot of work to do in. We need to create more programs to create more homeowners in our communities. Again, the programs, initiatives, and policies being made at the state level are not really adaptable to our reality in our communities. So folks want to access a down payment for a home, they don't qualify. Then who really does qualify for these programs? So we need to adapt these initiatives and programs to the reality of our communities.
Thank you. Frankly, you're elected, you already have done a lot. So share what you have done and, and what your vision is for this re-election.
As a city councilman, I have worked to rebuild the city of Central Falls in all our community. I have voted in several ordinances, and I proposed ordinances that we have passed to make the life of our residents better. For example, one of those, I sponsored, I did an ordinance to reduce the abandoned property and support housing here in Central Falls. I have sponsored, I did the ordinance to protect our environmental by banning the plastic bags in the city. We just passed an ordinance, and that passed yesterday, to make sure that the city of Central Falls homeowners, when they apply for home extensions, that they are granted to the people that are the residents, that the homeowners that live in the city and have the car registered in the city. We are working together as a city council and the mayor to keep moving the city the way it's going right now, which is I'm sure that we are going in the right directions, and we're gonna continue to be doing that for the next administration, which I'm sure that will be our next mayor, Maria Rivera. So we wanna keep working together. As Subervi said before, we can do anything by ourselves or alone. We have to work together as a team to move cities forward. So that's what we are doing here in Central Falls. Working together, working as a team, and making sure that, for example, that happened in San Francisco with Subervi was witnessing, we try to minimize, or we try to not to have that problem here in Central Falls. We are business oriented. When someone coming to bring business to Central Falls, we are openly to them, and we are ready to approve whatever they want if it is a good business for our city and our residents.
Thank you. And definitely, each one of you touch in very valuable proposals that need to be addressed. I like Glendaliz idea of, centralizing, and centralizing is key, both for business and for families, because, at least they know where to go. And if they can remember, like you mentioned, one number, that will definitely save their time. And in many cases, it will make it easy for them to also refer others. And I held your proposals are right on target. And again, I like what you're proposing. And I like the statement that you made is adapting to our community. Because I totally agree that there's a lot of services, there's a lot of laws and legislations and everything else, throughout the state of Rhode Island, but they're not adaptable to, our communities. Our friend Doris Blanchard in Commerce Array has done a great job to, streamline services and provide services to our communities. But once you get out of that area and you go into the communities, it's a totally different story. So definitely like that plan. And and Franklin, what you mentioned, definitely, I know you have done a lot for the city of Central Falls and continue to do for it. Angel brought the pandemic, and the pandemic show highlighted all the inequities that exist, and nobody can hide from it. And when I say nobody, elected officials and others, because and it goes to what Angel mentioned, the adaptation and what everybody else has made, what Glendaliz mentioned, because what ended up happening was that this pandemic came and the state and the system were not ready for it. Now, I'm not pointing finger, I'm not saying blaming, but what it shows was what hasn't been done. And what I mean by what hasn't been done is to improve the quality of life, the financial equity of the minority community. Mm-hmm. So this pandemic comes, and most of our people, very much all they have to do is sit there and hope that things are going to be different. Fortunately, it hasn't turned out to be as terrible as it could be. So based on that, based with this pandemic, what each one of you feel that needs to happen to improve, and in particular, the economic equity of our communities, of our individuals, needless to say, better jobs and all of that. They have tried many different things, but again, this pandemic showed that it hasn't worked. So what do you feel that needs to happen to change that? So that when the pandemic comes back next time, our communities will be better prepared. And I say next time because between this one and the last one was 100 years. So we'll have 100 years to fix it. So let's visualize 100 years from now, what do we need to change?
In my point of view, the most important thing that we need to do is maintain our economy strong. When we have a strong economy, and something like what we live in today happens, it's more feasible, more easy to face it and to work it out. As this pandemic have taken everybody by surprise, and the economy, it was doing well, but this have turned everything upside down. All businesses closed, everything is closed, but we, after a few months dealing with these situations, few months that we are living in, and another few months ahead of us that we're going to have to face this situation, we need to work on the economy, maintain our economy strong, maintain our student and our school, focus it in to do the right thing. So when something like that happens, we are well educated to see how we're going to face the next pandemic that I hope it will be 500 years from now, not 100 years.
I know, I agree.
I agree with Franklin. I think for me, one of the biggest impact, even as a parent and community member, school board member, has been the education. Where's the financial equity for our children? I would love to see some equity, as far as our funding. Providence is facing the same thing. Central Falls and Pawtucket, we're all facing the same struggles. CF as of yet doesn't have a budget. I'm not going to point any fingers, but we should have been started school already. We're not even prepared. It's a lot of things that have been exposed, as you said, Tomas, that we, have known all this time. Now everybody knows our buildings are not ready. The whole state knows what conditions Providence schools are, what conditions Central Falls schools are, because now we're in an uproar. So our education for our children needs to be equal. Our funding needs to be equal statewide. It's not about Central Falls versus Bristol. It should be all the same. So I think that's been one of our biggest frustration, and I would love to see that equalize in order to provide a better future for our kids. Our kids are our future, and I would love for my child to one day say, I want to run for office, or I want to make a change in my city. I always have a daughter who's 20 years old, and I tell her to, pay it back. So how do we provide that education to our students to be able to continue paying it back? It's not equal. So that's been my biggest frustration, is the funding.
So on my end, I want to say that overall, I think we need to learn how to be a better neighbor. All of us across the board. This pandemic has shown us that the only enemy here among us is COVID. It's not about anyone in particular. And I think there's a valuable lesson after this crisis. And it's that we need to come together as a society, as a community, more than ever. We need to be better neighbors to each other. We need to be more supportive. I think there's a lot of need of love, of caring, now more than ever. So that's a must. We need to learn about that as a society more. That's number one. Number two, I think that economy-wise, there's a lot of work to do. Number one, we need to create programs to build, to elevate new entrepreneurs. There's a lot of talented people in our state. There's a lot of talented Latinx folks that just need the support, the support system, the infrastructure to move forward. So we need to create more of that with the mindset of remote jobs towards the future. So what kind of enterprises do we want and need towards the future? So that's where we need to start gearing our focus and helping these individuals that are talented and are natural entrepreneurs to move forward into that direction. Number one, more career training. And again, career training adaptable to our current reality. Post-COVID, we're not there yet, but we need to start thinking how we're going to handle that moving forward. So career training that's remote, that's going to adapt to our new enterprises coming in, but most importantly, that serves well to our community, right? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's worked in other places. It's been working before COVID. Let's just adapt what's worked in other places around the world. There's great examples. Let's just adapt it here and make it work for us. And most importantly, we need to focus on education. That's our future. That's our kids. Those are our kids. And in the way that we fight for them, we provide for them as a society. And that way they're going to value themselves. So that's where we all start, right? We value ourselves as individuals. And if they walk into a classroom that the ceiling is falling apart, that the buildings are not in good condition, that the teachers and the system is not providing to them the tools to succeed, they know as kids. Kids know. And as they know, just like that, they feel. So we need to correct those issues and we need to tackle them head on. So our future could be promising. So absolutely a lot of work to do. And I love that we're all on the same page because again, we can't do this alone. We need to do it together.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I want to say that about that. I mean, that well together. When, for example, when the attack of the towers in New York in 2001, that happened, people, even though they didn't know each other, was hugging together, was crying together, was helping each other, and we knew what was the enemies, what was happening, but now with this pandemic, that we know the enemy is being called COVID-19, coronavirus, but unfortunately, we don't know where it's hiding. We don't know. I know the coronavirus is looking at us, but we don't know where it is. So what can we do to help each other in this situation? Like the situation that we are living in right now with this pandemic, that we know the enemy is everywhere, but we don't see it nowhere. So that's education is important to be still talking about. Get educated, understand what is the process and how we're going to fight it together and how we're gonna handle it, how we're gonna be responsible to protect others, even though we know that we may not be contaminated or may not be sick. Because the problem with the pandemic at this point is like we are living in summertime and it's hot outside and the beaches are open and there's a lot of places open and people are forgetting about this enemy that are mistreating our community and our people. So we need to grow up in the department to be more mature to prevent this to keep spreading the way it has so far.
And thank you for saying that, Franklin. And and I totally agree. Education and something as simple as wearing a mask. Why do you need to fight wearing a mask when it's for the safety of yourself and others? But it's something that is creating a revolution against the system. And I know all of you have worked at giving out masks and pretty much everything that's required to fulfill the cleanliness that needs to happen. But again, so the education part has been, I would say, limitless, but definitely people still need to hear some more about all of these things. But again, I like the idea that everybody's online in the same length, and definitely education is key. Education, the investment, everybody said it, children are our future. And if we cannot provide safe buildings and all the equipment that are needed in a safe way, and then something as basic as internet accessibility to the internet, which we found was, some other countries have accessibility to the internet easier than this country does. Africa is amazing, the accessibility through the phone that they have, and we still fighting, we're still saying that we cannot take it to rural areas, and we can even get it correct across the states and and whatnot. But definitely. So my next question is, so you set up your. I asked you earlier about your vision for the office, and now I want to know a little bit about your platform as candidates. I very much, I know that Glendaliz mentioned education and, the community. Angel mentioned small business, but what other issues do you see as part of your platform as candidates?
It's funny that you ended with Wi-Fi, and one of my platforms is a citywide Wi-Fi. I, of course, will need the help of my fellow council members and future administration to achieve this. But that is something that I am looking into, is a citywide Wi-Fi, because back to education, one of our biggest struggles was providing internet for our students to be able to learn every day. And Subervi, and if you can push that for Providence, go for it, because I know that they experience the same struggles. So we can share the love and work on because we all have the same goals at the end of the day. So a citywide Wi-Fi, not only will it benefit our students, it will benefit even our grown students that go to college. It'll benefit our adults that go to take classes. It'll benefit our businesses. If we want to bring more tourism to the city of Central Falls, it would benefit tourism. So life revolves around Wi-Fi nowadays. This is our era. So a city without it, it just doesn't make any sense. So I think we need to move forward technology-wise and work together to get a citywide Wi-Fi. And I would love to see that for Central Falls.
And I am up for it too. I am totally agree with you because and now, especially with this pandemic, we could see and find out how important. I mean, it was important before that, but now we can discover really like how many people now are working from home, studying from home, and doing everything from home. And without that access to the computer, it's impossible to do it. So I am definitely up with you, and we want to work out to make sure that that's going to happen in the city of Central Falls, and I hope in our city of Providence as well happen same thing, because we are in need for that. Uh, this is the life today, technology. So we need to have that access at home. So I'm up with you.
Great. On my end, I want to start off by saying that my platform, there are just a couple of key things that we mentioned, but I think this is a broader work that's going to take a lot of effort when we get to the State House. But there's one issue specifically that I want to have a strong focus, aside from small business, education, affordable housing. We need to eradicate systematic racism in every institution across government. It needs to stop now. And this is not about the police only. I think every government institution where there's racism, and there's a lot of silent racism happening against Latinx, against our Black and brown communities, that needs to stop now. I've been a victim myself, and that's one of the reasons that I'm inspired to run and to make those changes. I've seen it, I lived it myself, and it's unfortunate. And it's silent, it's very silent. What we see on TV, it's just a minimum portion of the issue. There's a very big concern around systematic racism. We wanna eradicate that across the board. And we're gonna be fearless in that topic. And we're gonna be at the forefront, absolutely, absolutely. Again, not alone. We need to do it together with the community. That's number one. Number two, in affordable housing, I think we need to start thinking about also not only about our new homeowners, how I mentioned earlier, but about our seniors who are retired, that their Social Security pension check a month, it's not even enough to pay their mortgage. Taxes are getting higher every day. Life is getting more expensive every day. How do we make this more accessible and allow seniors to keep their homes? We want to focus on that. We need to have a freeze on these taxes for seniors. It's not fair that they've worked all their lives and all of a sudden they can't afford their home that they've owned for 30 years. Unbelievable, but truth. And it's a truth that we're living right now in our reality. Our seniors are really nervous, they're really concerned, and we want to eradicate that as well. So those are two topics. Again, I'll bring it back to the beginning. Our small business community, more grant opportunities, number one. We need to cut the bureaucracy and the red tape. We need to give the perception outside of Rhode Island that we are business friendly, that we are welcoming new entrepreneurs and new investors to come in. And the way that we do that, we compare it with affordable housing, because in the way that new investors come in to invest, more housing units are going to be built. So it's, again, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's worked in other places. We just need to put it in action, in motion.
And Angel, thank you for bringing systemic racism, because that was going to be my next topic. Yeah, and I'm glad to hear your description from yourself, your experience, because you're absolutely right. You know, we all have experiences somehow, and in many different ways, and so I hear people say, "Oh, I never been discriminated. I never been this." Okay, you may want to believe that. So I already heard Angel. So, and if you want to expand on it, but what is your take on systemic racism, Franklin and Glendaliz? And as Angel mentioned, how do we start working to eradicate it or to improve it? Not, because needless to say, eradicate it is going to be a while, but how do we start working towards that?
I think the only way is just the way he said. We have to work together. It is something that we have all experienced, but together we would be stronger and we'd be able to fight systemic racism. And it happens on every level. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have. Systemic racism happens on all levels of, it does not matter of our society, correct? Yeah. So I 100% we have to end it. How do we do that? It's going to be a challenge, but the only way would be together, working together with at state level and to all the way to local level, even at education levels. We have to work together.
Yes,
Franklin?
very important. Well together is the key. Communication is very important. Communication at all levels. Sometimes people look at you. For example, right now with this unfortunate disease, COVID-19, that many people look at us, Spanish, like we are the coronavirus, like we are the pandemic. Unfortunately, because this community has been the one that have been more harder on the coronavirus, and sometimes people look at us like we are the coronavirus. Actually, you can see two people talking with a mask, and then when they see you, they put the mask on, and that's offensive because people don't want it to understand that that's a disease. First of all, didn't born in America Latina. And secondly, that's something that happened in whatever country happened at the beginning, but it's spread in the world. And people must understand that this is for everybody. So we must respect each other, have a great communication, and understand that disrespect people because at the color or the ethnicity or something else, that's something that shouldn't be happening in this society in this century. I think that's enough. So the communication is a factor, and work together as community members, regardless your ethnicity, your nationality, or regardless you are white, black, or Caucasian or whatever. We have to be working together and understand that we as a human being, if we don't support each other, we don't gonna have a better world to live. And that's what we need, a better world to live in this society, in this world where we are all the same under our Creator.
One of
And, you know, go ahead.
one of the things I'd like to add to that is one of the biggest things I think that needs to change is our law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights. I think it should be dismantled and recreated to our community of today. It's out of date. There's policies in there that doesn't hold some officers accountable, and that needs to be changed. I'm not against police officers. We have great officers in our city, but there are systemic racism across that, and people need to be held accountable. So totally, let's rip it up and start over is what I would say in order to better serve our community. I think our officers need to serve and not, remember they signed an oath to protect and serve. And I feel a lot of it goes like this, and it's, okay, I'm gonna make an arrest, You know, I get it. We get into a job and it becomes monotonous, right? Every day, the same thing. And we get into this and sometimes it's not even realized what they're doing. They don't realize that some situations can be avoided. Not every stop has to be an arrest. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about restorative action in our city. That should be a community effort. We have restorative action in our schools in Central Falls, and it has changed our schools tremendously. And that needs to be part of our community, from the schools to our officers, to our businesses, to our residents. How do we communicate with each other to avoid bigger issues? So I'll end with that.
Very interesting perspective. And I'm just going to add to what everyone mentioned is, and the fact that Angel brought it, and it's the awareness and talking about it. Because, you know, in my opinion, one of the problem is that for many years, that issue has been avoided, you know, because it's like, oh, it affects them. It affects everybody else but me. And again, two incidents show, first, COVID didn't see race, ethnicity. COVID didn't see anything. COVID treated everyone the same way, and it showed the same inequities. And the same thing happened with the murder of George Floyd. All the issues that could have happened to me or to anyone else, because, and so again, it's the awareness of talking about it, acknowledging it, and eventually doing something about it. Believe it or not, we're getting very close to the end. It's like I always say that time goes by fast when you're having fun, because and I was when I plan these things, and I was seems like forever, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, it's only 5 minutes. So we,
Thomas, I would like to say something else about what Glenda just was talking about the
sure.
police that they need to be held more accountable, which I'm agree to. They have to be holding accountable and be responsible and be professional in what they doing in the community, which is maintain the peace and protect the community. Something that I wouldn't do and I wouldn't vote for it is like to defund our police department. I wouldn't vote for that
No.
because we need the police to maintain the peace and the order. We need to create another way of the policy they do or the way they've been investigated when they do something wrong. I think a police officer shouldn't be investigating another police officer. On that, we should welcome that. But I wouldn't vote to defund the police department because I think we have a lot of great police officers out there, and we need them to maintain the order.
Yeah. And I totally agree, because and that's why I like that Glendaliz talk about the Bill of Rights, because the Bill of Rights, is very specific, and it is a culprit of many of the things, but definitely defunding. I'm not in agreement either, because we still need the police no matter what. So we are almost at the end. So each one of you has gonna give you 2 minutes to say your closing remarks, and whether it's about you yourself, your campaigns, but just go ahead before I pick. Go, Franklin.
Okay, I will start it. Well, as I mentioned everybody know, I am Franklin Solano. I am running for re-elections here in the city of Central Falls, where we are working tirelessly to maintain and keep moving our city forward. First of all, I have to say that Mayor Graciosa have done a great job to move the city forward alongside with the council people who are the one that support his policy and whatever he wanted to do for the city. We are in the facing a big challenge right now with the economy, with the pandemic and the coronavirus and everything is happening. But even though like that, we're gonna keep working hard to make sure that our city is moving in the right directions. And we're gonna make sure that our constituents, our residents, when they are in need of anything, they can reach us. I mean, they can reach me personally, they can reach me at any time, as always we do. I mean, we are not out there just on time of campaign. We are out there at any time for any reason. We are helping our community. We are assuring that we are gonna keep continue working hard for maintain a great city. And I ask them for the support once again to keep being your city councilman. Thank you very much.
Next.
Thank you, Franklin. I'll go next. So again, everyone, my name is Glendaliz Colon. I am running for city council at large in the city of Central Falls. And I look forward to, because I'm going to call it into existence. So I look forward to working with all of my constituents as your council member at large. If you see me in the street, stop me. If you come to one of our food drives for the Elijah Project, come say hello. If you want to contact me, feel free to call me. Accessibility is one of the biggest things that I've learned from other council members. And from my previous work on Rivera campaign, accessibility to all of our constituents is major to me. So feel free to give me a call, message me on Facebook. My Facebook page is at Glendaliz Colon 2020. And I will do my best to get back to everyone in a meaningful time, you know, and please, uh, I want to continue working hard for our community and moving it forward technology wise. We are going to have a lot of changes in the future of Central Falls. I see it. I see a lot of the work that's already begun in our streets. We started renovations on Broad Street, and that will soon move to other major streets in the city. So our city is going to look beautiful, and I would love to be a part of it and continue advocating for our constituents. So please stop me if you see me and say hello and introduce yourself. I am welcoming everyone with open arms and very easy to talk to and available. That groundwork is what is major in the city. So I'd like to continue doing that and representing it well. Thank you.
Great. So I want to say that I am honored and humbled, very humble, of all the support and love I've been receiving from the community. I came into this race with no expectations whatsoever. These are tough times to run for office. During the pandemic, I said, the only way I was going to be able to do this is with the people that love me. Well, I found so much love everywhere in this community, across the community. It's just been amazing. And I will always be grateful for that. I want to say that I'm going to be honored to serve the people of District 7. But most importantly, I'm going to be a representative that's going to be accessible. I want to have community approval first, a district office where my community could reach out for support, connecting them to city services, connecting them to opportunities. But most importantly, have a site where we can meet and talk about the issues that matter. It's not only about what I think, it's about what we think. So there needs to be that central location, and that's community approval as soon as we win. Most importantly, I want to be that linkage between the community neighborhoods that I'm going to be representing with every government institution, especially with the city of Providence. We want to make sure the city of Providence is also delivering city service-wise for our neighborhoods. I'm going to be that representative that not only focuses on policies and laws and programs at the state level, but I also want to be that rep that's going to be that line of communication, that support, that vehicle between my constituents and the city of Providence. I'd be honored to serve each and one of you, and most importantly, be your friend and be your neighbor as a support and as you need it. Thank you.
Thank you, all three of you. Thank you for accepting this invitation. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I know each one of you has other things to do, and I greatly appreciate you taking an hour out of your valuable and busy times to have this conversation. And before we end, I just want to remind the viewers that next week, I am going to be having the two city councilors and a city council candidate from the city of Cranston. I'm going to have Lamis Vargas, Larry Warner, and I forgot the other one. She's going to kill me. But it's going to be three minorities. Cranston, and part of the reason that I'm inviting them, besides knowing them, is that Cranston is going through a change. I keep statistics about the census and everything else. And back in 2010, it was projected that Cranston was going to turn into a minority city, and very much that is happening. Cranston surpassed Warwick as the second largest city after Providence in Rhode Island. And part of the reason that happened was because of the growth of the minority community in Cranston. So interestingly enough, this year, there's 3 individuals running for city council. So that's what the conversation is going to be about, just like you all, about your platform, about visioning, but about that change. Because, as change happens, change doesn't stop. once change comes, change just keep going. So those are going to be my guests next week. Again, thank you very much, each one of you. Have a good night. You were great, and look forward to having another conversation after the elections. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much
Thank
for
you
inviting
all.
us.
Have a
Appreciate
good
it.
night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night. Bye-bye.